Hello. Final chapter of the Dhammapada we are about to read, which is titled The Brahmin, section 26 of 26. Go beyond the stream, Brahmin. Go with all your soul. Leave desires behind. When you have crossed the stream of samsara, you will reach the land of nirvana. When beyond meditation and contemplation, a Brahmin has reached the other shore, then one attains the supreme vision and all fetters are broken. For whom there is neither this nor the further shore, nor both, who beyond all fear is free. Okay, that was a confusing sentence. What? For whom there is neither this nor the further shore, nor both, who beyond all fear is free, they I call a Brahmin. Okay. Who lives in contemplation, who is pure and is in peace, who has done what was to be done, who is free from passions, and who has reached the supreme end, them I call a Brahmin. By day the sun shines, and by night shines the moon. The warrior shines in their armor, and the Brahmin priest in their meditation. But the Buddha shines by day and by night. In the brightness of his glory shines one who is awake. Because one has put away evil, they are called a Brahmin. Because one lives in peace, they are called a samana. Because one leaves all sins behind, they are called a pabajita, a pilgrim. One should never hurt a Brahmin, and a Brahmin should never return evil for evil. Alas for the man who hurts a Brahmin, alas for the Brahmin who returns evil for evil. It is not a little good that a Brahmin gains if he holds back his mind from the pleasures of life. Every time the desire to hurt stops, every time a pain disappears. It is not a little good that a Brahmin gains if he holds back his mind from the pleasures of life. Every time the desire to hurt stops, every time a pain disappears. One who hurts not with their thoughts or words or deeds, who keeps these three under control, them I call a Brahmin. And to those who learn the law of righteousness from one who has taught what the Buddha has taught, then let them revere their teacher, as a Brahmin reveres the fire of sacrifice. One becomes not a Brahmin by long hair or family or birth. The one in whom there is truth and holiness, they are in joy, and they are a Brahmin. The one in whom there is truth and holiness. Of what use is your tangled hair, foolish man? Of what use your antelope garment, if within you have tangled cravings, and without ascetic ornaments? One who is clothed in worn-out garments, thin, whose veins stand out, who in the forest is alone in contemplation, though them I call a Brahmin. I call not a man a Brahmin because they are born from a certain family or mother, for they may be proud and they may be wealthy. The man free from possessions and free from desires, them I call a Brahmin. Who has cut all fetters and whose mind trembles not, who in infinite freedom is free from all bonds, them I call a Brahmin. Who has cut off the strap, the thong, and the rope with all their fastenings, who has raised the bar that closes the door, who is awake. Them I call a Brahmin. Who, though innocent, suffers insults, stripes and chains, whose weapons are endurance and soul force, them I call Brahmin. Who is free from anger, faithful to vows, virtuous, free from lusts, self-trained, whose mortal body is their last mortal body, I call them a Brahmin. Well, I'm just having a look ahead here. This whole next 2 pages is just, I call him a Brahmin, I call him swallow. Who clings not to sensuous pleasures, even as water clings not to the leaf of the lotus, or a grain of mustard seed to the point of a needle. Him I call a Brahmin. He who even in this life knows the end of sorrow, who has laid down his burden and is free, him I call a Brahmin. Whose vision is deep, who is wise, and who knows the path and what is outside the path, who has attained the highest end, him I call a Brahmin. Who keeps away from those who have a home and from those who have not a home, who wanders alone and who has few desires, him I call a Brahmin. Who hurts not any living being, whether feeble or strong, who neither kills nor causes to kill, him I call a Brahmin. Who is tolerant to the intolerant and peaceful to the violent, free from greed with the greedy, him I call a Brahmin. He from whom lust and hate and pride and insincerity fall down like a mustard seed from the point of a needle, him I call a Brahmin. He who speaks words that are peaceful and useful and true, words that offend no one, him I call a Brahmin. Who in this world does not take anything not given to them, be it long or short, large or small, good or bad, him I call a Brahmin. This is the most repetition that's happened in the whole goddamn book, and the final chapter. It's crazy, literally every single. Alright, I'll continue. He who speaks words that are... God, I don't even know which one I've read now. Who has no craving desires either for this world or for another world, who free from desires is infinite in freedom, him I call a Brahmin. Who in their vision is free from doubts and having all longs for nothing, for they have reached the immortal nirvana, him I call a Brahmin. Who in this world has gone beyond good and evil and both, who free from sorrows is pure from passions and is pure, him I call a Brahmin. He who like the moon is pure, bright, clear and serene, whose pleasure for things that pass away is gone, him I call a Brahmin. Who has gone beyond the illusion of samsara, the muddy road of transmigration, so difficult to pass, who has crossed the other shore, free from doubts and temporal desires, has reached in his deep contemplation the joy of nirvana, him I call a Brahmin. He who wanders without a home in this world, leaving behind the desires of the world, and the desires never return, him I call a Brahmin. Wow, alright, we got another whole page of I gotta say, this is a little bit boring, just ending it with the same motherfucking thing every time, but who am I to question the Buddha? I am certainly not a Brahmin, given all these specifications. Definitely not me. Who wanders without a home in this world, leaving behind the feverish thirst for the world, and the fever never returns, him I call a Brahmin. Who is free from the bondage of men and also from the bondage of the gods, who is free from all things in creation, him I call a Brahmin. Who is free from pleasure and pain, who is calm, and whose seeds of death in life are burnt, whose seeds of death in life are burnt. whose heroism has conquered all inner worlds, him I call a Brahmin. Who knows the going and returning of beings, the birth and rebirth of life, and in joy has arrived at the end of his journey, and now is awake and can see, him I call a Brahmin. He whose path is not known by men, nor by spirits or gods, who is pure from all imperfections, who is a saint, an arahant, him I call a Brahmin. He from whom things future or past or present are nothing, who has nothing and desires nothing, I call a Brahmin. Who is powerful, noble, who lives life of inner heroism, the all-seer, all-conqueror, ever pure, having reached the end of the journey, who like a Buddha is awake, I call a Brahmin. And who knows the river of their past lives, and is free from life that ends in death, who knows the joys of heaven and the sorrows of hell, for they are a seer whose vision is pure, who in perfection is one with the supreme perfection. Them I call a Brahmin. That's the end of the Dhammapada. The end of the section, the final section called... What was that one called? The Brahmin. It'd be hard to forget that, to be honest. Whoa, this whole chapter, which was 4 pages, more than 3 pages of it was just the statement of what a Brahmin is, and then I call that man a Brahmin. Probably the least kind of narrative flow of any of the chapters, to be honest. But we end there. Now we know what a Brahmin is. And we've finished the Dhammapada. What should we read next? Suggestions? Put them down below. I love you, family. Thanks for learning along with me. Thanks for being my Sangha. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.